I'm a doctor.
I'm a lawyer.
I'm a journalist.
I'm a student.
I'm a teacher.
I'm a representative.
I have cancer.
The outdated laws of prohibition are more dangerous than the plant itself.
I lost my scholarship.
I was fired.
20 million arrests since 1965. This is getting ridiculous.
Our prisons are overcrowded with non-violent offenders.
We have the opportunity to change.
This is costing our country billions of dollars.
Making my family and I fight in a courtroom is difficult enough when I'm already fighting through chemotherapy.
There's no reason to be scared by tradition anymore.
We can stop this.
We can stop this.
We are the American people,
We can stop this.
and you have our support.
We're old.
Young.
Straight.
Gay.
We're every race and nationality.
And we're not going to give up.
You can tax it.
You can regulate it.
Apply age restrictions.
You can create millions of new jobs.
We can save our economy.
President Obama?
It's time for legalization.
Legalization.
Yes.
We
Can.
Prohibition cannot be enforced for the simple reason that the majority of American people do not want it enforced and are resisting its enforcement. That being so, the orderly thing to do under our form of government is to abolish a law which cannot be enforced, a law which the people of the country do not want enforced.
New York's prohibition-fighting mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia, was somewhat skeptical of the government's claims that marijuana was causing murder, rape, and the destruction of America's youth. Wanting to get the facts, he commissioned a study by a group of 31 impartial scientists. After 6 years of medical and sociological research, the LaGuardia Commission found smoking marijuana did not lead to violent or antisocial behavior. Smoking marijuana did not cause uncontrollable sexual urges. Smoking marijuana did not alter a person's basic personality structure. Item by item, the Commission's report disproved every negative effect claimed by Harry Anslinger. Furious, Anslinger used his influence with the press to have the report discredited and destroyed every copy he could get his hands on. And by restricting the supply of marijuana, he put a stop to any further research.
And now, my beauty, something with poison in it, I think. With poison in it, but attractive to the eye and soothing to the smell. Poppies will put them to sleep.
But today, we are talking about delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, otherwise known as the major biologically active substance in the cannabis plant, otherwise known as marijuana. So here it is. The molecule, not the marijuana. No matter what you think of this compound or how familiar you may be with it, there's no denying that THC is pretty potent. Its effect stems from its ability to bind to receptors in your brain called cannabinoid receptors, and the reaction that takes place after that binding occurs. Now, calling them cannabinoid receptors is kind of misleading. It makes it sound like they're designed to be stimulated by cannabis. They're not. They're receptors located on neurons, and they're activated by chemicals called neurotransmitters, which basically allow neurons to communicate with each other. Cannabinoid receptors are found in all different parts of the brain. Their highest density occurs in the areas of the brain responsible for pleasure, thinking, memory, coordination, time perception. Normally, these cannabinoid receptors are not activated by cannabis. They're activated by a chemical called anandamide. And that neurotransmitter plays a large role in making short-term connections between nerve cells. It's also largely responsible for the brain's ability to forget things, which is very useful in our normal daily lives. We can't remember everything. And it seems to have a hand in regulating our eating behavior, as well as generating sensations of pleasure. Its name anandamide, which is kind of a beautiful word, comes from the Sanskrit word for inner bliss. Anandamide, for what it's worth, has been found in chocolate. Anandamide and THC belong to the same class of chemicals which we call cannabinoids. By mimicking anandamide and binding to and activating those receptors, THC interferes with the normal functioning of your brain. Well, your brain is now on drugs. By attaching itself to a neuron, THC screws up communication between other neurons. Let's say neuron 1 needs to tell neuron 2 to do something like remember a phone number or hit a baseball with a baseball bat. Well, if THC is bound to one of those neurons, that communication is more likely to fail, and the person is less likely to remember that thing or hit that baseball. So roughly that's how THC affects the brain.
It doesn't cost much to raise these plants. The whole operation runs on a shoestring, basically.
It's a guessing game, but a moderate estimate says if marijuana were decriminalized, it would save about $13 billion from not having to enforce marijuana laws. And if pot were taxed like alcohol and cigarettes, it would mean about $7 billion, a net gain for government of $20 billion.
Poll, Gallup poll, also had 50% for the first time ever saying legalize it. More people clearly saying that they're in that camp as opposed to keeping it illegal. And, you know, it has gone up 14% since 2006 in the Gallup poll for people saying legalize it, because everybody's sick of it. And you know, they look at it, it's also not that dangerous. The government is making it up. Literally, we've shown you story after story. Richard Nixon commissions a report, how safe is marijuana? The report comes back, fairly safe. He takes it, rips it up, and throws it in the garbage. We find out decades later. And then he comes out and says anyway, oh, very, very unsafe. Oh, my God, marijuana is so dangerous. It's not true.
Marijuana is a healthy alternative and much safer than alcohol and tobacco.
Last thing on this that's very important. There was a subcommittee report in the Senate, and Senator McCaskill from Missouri talked about it, and she said that it has been very inefficient and that our efforts to use contractors have largely failed. But note what she just said, our efforts to use contractors. And a lot of the war on drugs has now become about this, because private contractors get huge contracts from the United States government, and now they are pressuring the South American governments to also give them contracts because of the lessons they've learned to fight the war on drugs. Now those guys are making millions and billions off of this. So now they have a financial incentive, and they are very powerful because they've got enormous connections to the Defense Department, the Pentagon, the defense contractors, and those guys totally run our politics in Washington. So they're putting all the pressure on the politicians to keep the war on drugs going forever, because that's the gravy train for them. They get rich, the drug lords get rich, and we all get killed. It's just like the prohibition on alcohol. All it did was create more and more gangsters.
Don't!